JT Show.
What's going on, Smashers, and welcome to another episode of the Smash JT Show, my weekly episodic adventure discussing divisive issues in the video game industry and beyond sometimes. It airs every Friday, and like always, if you're new here, hit that subscribe, bell for notifications, give me that thumbs up, and some of you haters, give me that thumbs down. Actually, if it's anything like the last video, a lot of you haters loving that interaction, so thank you so much. Let's just press start. For this week's episode, we're going to talk about money on YouTube and why I don't think it's as big of a deal as a lot of the haters think it is. And this is an extremely divisive issue because people think that money should not be involved in YouTube. And there are really two lines of thinking when it comes to this. The purists out there, the viewers that like YouTube the way it used to be, where you could just watch stuff and not have to worry about finances or money or anything, and just be entertained. But here's what I'd say to you guys. That's still available. You can just watch people and be entertained. If you don't want to donate money to Patreon, if you don't want to buy merchandise, if you don't want to be a part of anything financially on it, if you just want to skip the ads, you don't have to do anything. You can just watch it and be entertained. That, for the most part, is still there and ever present on YouTube. Then there is the camp of people that do want to support the creators, that do want to go that extra mile, that do want to give them something to show appreciation, to say, thank you for the work that you're doing. I want to do something for you because you bring so much entertainment and joy and education or whatever it is into my life. I want to be able to pay that back to you, so thank you. And sometimes there's kind of a mix of the two, and it depends on the creator that they're watching, and I get all the variables with it, but ultimately, that's what it comes down to. And honestly, the people who are hating on Patreon, who are hating on creators that use this as a viable income, as a career, as a job, they are the extreme vocal minority. Hell, there are some small channels out there that have grown a miniature empire just on hating on channels that have a Patreon. I have a Patreon. People have told me I need to get rid of it because having a Patreon makes me an e-beggar. If having a Patreon makes me an e-beggar, then I guess I'm an e-beggar along with everybody else on the platform who has a Patreon. But I don't really push my Patreon, so I'm not really sure how that translates into being an e-beggar. It just simply is something that I put there because people, when I was making videos, said they wanted to contribute to my channel, that they wanted to give back, and I was like, okay, I'll probably just throw a Patreon up there. I don't even know what the reward tiers will be, but I'll just put something up, and if people want to give money, great. And if they don't, great. I don't lock content behind my Patreon. I don't make things exclusive just for Patreon. I might give things to them a few days early sometimes, but focusing on trending topics and news, oftentimes it's hard to do that. But when I can, I make a video in advance and let the Patreon see it early. It's the least I can do to say thank you to the people that want to support me on a monthly basis. Now, this isn't really about me. I'm just using my own personal circumstance to explain where I'm coming from as a creator, but there are a number of other creators out there that face the same backlash from this hateful community that think these e-beggars are the worst thing that ever happened to YouTube, that YouTube shouldn't be a career, that people shouldn't be able to make videos all the time and make money off of it, that they should go out and get a real job digging ditches, I guess. I don't know what people think when they say a real job, what that even means in today's environment with technology, but unfortunately for the people that don't want YouTube to be a real job, it is. So accept it. Now, as far as the pay structure is concerned, I've talked about that in a previous video as well. You don't get paid very much money from advertisements at all. Now, as you grow sequentially, it exponentially gets bigger and bigger and grows more and more. And yes, you can have a career out of YouTube if you are one of the few chosen select to get to that elite spot on the platform where you have enough subscribers to support your channel, where you have enough advertisement income to have some sort of reliable, sustainable income on a monthly basis that you can plan around and, oh, I don't know, pay rent, pay your mortgage, buy food, maybe buy some video games and play them so you can talk about them. I don't get why people hate on this so much, why it's such a big deal for them. Another situation that came up earlier this week was the Metal Jesus Rocks versus The Last Gamer, and the whole controversy with that email supposedly sent by Metal Jesus Rocks to The Last Gamer requesting $3,000 for a shout out, and everyone is mad at Metal Jesus Rocks for that. Even though in my video, I think it's fairly clear that it looks like it's a phishing scam. It doesn't look like it's a real email. It doesn't look like it actually came from Metal Jesus Rocks. But be that as it may, let's imagine that it did come from Metal Jesus Rocks and that he was requesting $3,000 from The Last Gamer to get a shout out. Okay, that's kind of how the world works. I mean, a lot of people don't want to admit that, but how it goes around is people pay money to get attention, especially in the entertainment industry. It's no different than Destiny FOMO paying all this money for advertisements to get her channel in front of as many eyes as possible. It's no different than any channel doing anything paying money to get attention. It's how it all works. So even if it did happen, which I don't think it did, but even if Metal Jesus Rocks requested the $3,000, I don't see what's wrong with that. It's, to me, the same thing as somebody who flies on an airplane and wants a more comfortable ride. They pay more money for first class. Are you going to get mad at the airline because they have a more comfortable seat for the people who want to pay more money? Like, it's how the world works. You pay more money, you get a better place. Unfortunately. Now, if you want to live in a communistic society and you don't agree with capitalism, that's a whole different argument. But as it stands right now, I feel like people are so angry at some baseless facts instead of looking at the reality of life. Now, I want to relate this to a personal example in my life where previous to YouTube and working at Qualcomm and working in the video game industry, in between all that, I actually worked in the for-profit school industry. I was an admissions representative where I would sit down at a desk and interview potential students to become students at the schools I was working at. These were for-profit schools, so ultimately, at the end of the day, here's a little secret. We wanted as many people as possible to sign up, but our approach was to be a little bit more deceptive, if you will. It was trying to get people to think that they had to work to get into the school so that they'd be more motivated to sit down in the class once they signed up to it. It made sense, actually, when you were in the business. Looking back, it was a very sleazy work environment, a very bad work environment. And the government actually stepped in a while back saying that they saw what was going on, where they were trying to get as many students in class as possible to get as much grants from the government so that these schools could rake in as much money as possible. And the government stepped in and said, you guys just can't be accepting everybody, and you can't just have your admissions representatives have these quotas that they have to hit because they're going to look at these students as numbers instead of actual people. And how that relates to YouTube is actually makes more sense than you think, because I know some people in the comment section of this video might be saying things like, oh, there are creators out there that do deceptive things to make these people think they need to give money to them, and they make them feel bad into the point of opening up their wallets to donate to them. And I get into the section of life where I'm like, is that a problem? If people can't make up their own mind, do we need someone to step in and say, hey, by the way, this is kind of deceptive, so we're not going to let these YouTubers do it? Or are we going to let people make up their own mind and say, hey, if they're duping you into giving money to them because you think they're fraudulent, then that's kind of on you. Where does the onus lie? Are you going to be mad at the YouTuber for being sleazy and saying, hey, I got this issue going on at my house right now and I need money? Or are you going to take the side of things and say, maybe this is on the person that's opening up their wallet? If you decide to give money to any YouTuber at any time, you better know how to justify that in your own mind. Why you're doing it. Do you have a passion for what that creator is making? Do you enjoy what they're doing? Do you truly feel a connection with them? Whatever reason it is that you want to donate money or give to their Patreon or do whatever it is that they may or may not be requesting, obviously through their video or however it works, if you're opening up your wallet to that YouTuber, that's kind of on you. We don't need people in the community stepping in saying that there are e-beggars out there on YouTube, that there are sleazy YouTubers that are trying to steal money from all the viewers out there that are just trying to watch the content, and YouTube just needs to go back to the way it was, and people shouldn't be making money off of it. Because if we do that, then YouTube would not be what it is today, with all the glorious, great content, hard-working creators, people striving to be successful on it, making as good content as possible, day in and day out, so that they can get to that point where it's sustainable. And oh, by the way, it's a partnership between the creator and the viewer, where they create the content and the viewer enjoys it. And if that's not happening, then they're not gonna succeed. So we don't need people stepping in and saying, hey, these guys are e-begging. We don't need to give money to any of these YouTubers. Painting the broad brush over this entire situation is the worst thing you can do. Look at each creator on an individual basis, and if they're making something valuable to you and you want to support them, then by all means do it, if you have the financial viability to do so. Don't put yourself into bankruptcy trying to support someone that you like because they're making you feel bad, though. That goes on to you at that point. So many of these channels out there that are hating on these supposed e-beggar channels out there are building a small empire just hating on these people. They're not providing any powerful or useful content. They're just regurgitating and recycling the same information every single video. And you, as the viewer, need to decide what is actually meaningful to you. What are you watching YouTube for in the first place? And if you're part of the gaming community and you enjoy gaming videos, then why are you so caught up in all this e-begging stuff? Don't worry about it. Enjoy the videos for what they are. At least that's where I stand on this situation. I'm sure plenty of people in the comments have plenty of thoughts on this, so let me know where you stand on that there. Moving on to the smashing video of the week, I want to talk about a video collaboration by TechWizX in the PSVR that I was a part of, and it turned out fantastic. It's one of those videos where a few people talk about their favorite PSVR games, what makes them special, and what makes them something that you maybe want to check out. It's worth taking a look at, so I'll put a link in the description below. Definitely take a look at that when you get a chance. And that's where I'm going to leave this week's video. Again, I want to say a special thank you to all the Patreons that choose to support me on a monthly basis. Not forcing anyone to, but if you'd like to contribute, I will put a link to my Patreon right there. And, like I said at the beginning, if you're new to the channel, you enjoy what I'm doing here, hit the subscribe button, bell for notifications, and if you missed last week's video, I'll put a link to it right here. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.